Last week, hundreds of students at Montgomery Blair High School walked out of class in support of a classmate who they say was deported to Guatemala. Jackie, this raises two key issues. Should students be permitted to walk out without consequences? And do these protests reflect an informed understanding of immigration law?
Well, I'm going to start with your second question first. I do not think that this reflects an informed, opinion of what's happening with immigration law, because unfortunately, what we found is in these schools, only one side of the story is being told, and that's typically by the teachers and the administration. Instead of using this as an opportunity to really sit and have a substantial conversation where both sides are represented on the issue, I think students have only been fed one side of the story, hence the walkout. Now, in terms of their walking out without consequences, I do think there needs to be consequences, and not because they don't have a right to speak up and say what they want to say, but because the second those students walk onto the school grounds, they are the liability of the school, right? When parents drop their kids off at school or send them on the bus, they are hoping and praying and relying on the school to keep them safe. So if they go out to protest or they walk out of class and somebody gets hurt, the school is then liable, and that's an issue for the school that they need to deal with. And on top of that, we are looking at declining test scores. We're looking at students who are graduating not being able to do math or to read at grade level. And I think those things are way more important when you're showing up to school than protesting, right? You could protest after school, you could protest on the weekends, but when people are going to school, they should be learning, they should be coming out of school with the knowledge that they need to succeed in life. And this is not contributing to that.
Well, thank you, Jackie. Mike, political blogger Carol Hughes wrote, parents in Montgomery County should be outraged, not just by the walkout, but by the complicity of the school staff and local officials. And as Jackie pointed out, the decline in discipline and test scores, and calls this a walkout just political theater. Is this fair criticism?
If people want to make those complaints, I can certainly understand where they would. The reality is that it happened with 2 days left in the school year. Most students were going half days anyway. The reality was that, to Jackie's point, yes, we haven't seen the improvements in the school system that we'd like to see, but that wasn't going to happen on the Tuesday before the last day of school. So I'm not really all that concerned about that. As it relates to letting our students be able to exhibit and express, I think their support for their classmate, to engage in a political process, I think is probably a worthwhile process. If it brings a conversation about immigration policy, of which quite honestly right now in the United States we have very little, and I understand that the Trump administration is trying to pretend that we do, and their enforcement of what little things they think they have, or enforcement of their of his orders are, I think is generally ridiculous. But that notwithstanding, I think that it is an opportunity to engage a dialogue. I think that's a good thing. It was the end of the school year, and so I probably nothing ventured, nothing gained, no harm, no foul.
Well, I understand. I understand that your point about being at the end of the school year, but for many years, the administration of MCPS has been supporting student protests. They allowed students to go out and walk out and protest the abortion laws. They allowed students to walk out earlier and protest other things, but not, it's always in a context and support of liberal thought. I just wonder whether we've lost track of what, as Jackie pointed out, whether we should be concentrating on teaching.
I think we should be concentrating on teaching, but I think that also there are real world examples and real consequences that are out there, and our students live proximate to where many decisions are made, and many of their families are actually directly affected, either in helping make those policies or being impacted by the policies that have been implemented. And so
Well,
I think being able to engage in that process is not a bad thing.
I think that process would be great if we were living in a school environment where students who believe on either side of the situation felt comfortable enough to speak up. But being a student who is actually personally impacted by being publicly Republican and having teachers single me out and treat me differently because of that, I think you have several conservative leaning students who don't feel like they can talk about their side of the issue, and that's stifling an actual, I would say, very educational conversation from taking place.